Hello and welcome to part 86. In this video, we will see what is Thread.Join and what is IsAlive property. I have opened up my Visual Studio. If you see here, I have created a counter 1 method that is counting from 0 to 9. And after each iteration, we are waiting for 1 second and then moving to the next number. Let's run this program and see how it is working. You can notice here we are getting numbers from 1 to 9 and there is a delay of 1 second in it, but you can notice here our main thread is already completed. Our main thread has not waited for this counter to complete and it has terminated already. All right, so this is what we were doing till now, but let's suppose there is some scenario where you want to make your main thread to wait for counter 1 completion in some cases. So we have one main thread and we have T1 thread. So what happened? Main thread will be running and in between it will create a T1 thread, right? And currently what is happening, main thread is not waiting for it and it is going for the completion. So what we want to achieve, we want to make our main thread to wait for T1 to complete, right? For that we can use join method. So here, if you want to make my main thread to wait for completion of thread 1, what I can do, I can write t1 dot join, right? So what will happen, main thread will wait for t1 to complete. I mean it will wait for this method to join the main thread. If I run my program after writing the join method, let's see what will happen. You can notice here we have not received the message main thread completed and our main thread is waiting for T1 to get complete, and once T1 is joined, like once T1 has completed all the numbers 0 to 9, we are getting main thread completed, right? Let's suppose we have one more counter. Let's create a one more thread for our counter 2, thread T2. For counter 2, let's start T2 thread also. Let's change the text here also to say counter 2. Let's change this 101 to 110 so that we go from 100 to 110, right? And we are sleeping for 2 seconds. Let's run the program now. Now our program is running and you can notice here counter 1 and counter 2 both are running, and you will notice once counter 1 has reached number 9, the main thread is also completed. Main thread is not waiting for counter 2 to complete. You can still see here counter 2 is still running, correct? So this is the use of t1.join. Using this method, you can make your main thread to wait for the child process to complete. Right here we are making our child process, that is counter 1, to complete, and then only we are terminating the main thread. And we also have one property is Thread.Alive. Let's see how we can use that. Let's say I can put if here, if t2 dot is alive. Let's print a message. So what we are doing here, first I'm checking t1 dot is alive. I'm checking if my thread 2 is alive or not. If it is alive, I'm printing thread 2 is still running. And now I'm checking my thread 1 is alive or not. If it is alive, I will print thread 1 is still running, and else I will print thread 1 has completed its task. Because we are using t1.join, so t1.alive will never be true. We will only come to this line when the thread 1 is completed. Let's see this in action. Okay, my counter 2 and counter 1 both has started. Now counter 1 has reached 9, so it will terminate there. That's why we see the message thread 2 is still running, because t1.isAlive will give the true, because thread 2 is still has to print some more numbers, but thread 1 has completed its task. You can see here we went to else block. So here t1.isAlive returned false and we have printed this line here. Right after printing this line, we can see our main thread is also completed, but T2 was still running. That's why we saw some other numbers from counter 2 also. So here is the summary what we have learned in this video. Join blocks the current thread and makes it wait until the thread on which thread method is invoked completed. Join method also has a overload where we can specify the timeout. If we don't specify the timeout, the calling thread waits indefinitely until the threads on which join is invoked completes. The overload of the join method takes one parameter, that is integer, in milliseconds. Let's see this how we can use the overloaded version of join method. So this is where we call the join method, and if you see here we are going from 0 to 9, so we are printing 10 numbers, and for each number we are waiting for 1 second, so roughly around 10 seconds it will take to complete the execution. Let's say I want to wait only for 5 seconds for this thread to complete. I don't want to wait much further, right? And if I run my program now, you will see the counter 1 has started, and after 5 seconds we have completed our main thread. We have not waited more than 5 seconds. Earlier what we were saying, we were waiting for the thread 1 to get completed, then only we were terminating the main thread, but here we are waiting only for the 5 seconds. So this is how you can use the overloaded version of join method, and this returns boolean, so it will return true if the method is completed, else it will return the false. So we can use the result which is coming from here. Run the program again. Again counter 1 has started, and we have waited 5 seconds. After that we checked if the result that is coming from the join method is true or false. Because it was false, that's why we have printed T1 was not completed and the main thread was terminated here, but still the counter was keep on running, and we have got other numbers also on the console window. Let's go back to slides. Okay. Join is particularly useful when we need to wait and collect result from a thread execution, or if we need to do some cleanup work. Let's suppose you want to do some cleanup activity once one thread is completed. So what you can do, you can wait for that thread to complete using join method, and once you have received true from the join method, it means the thread is completed. You can do your cleanup after that. So in these kind of scenarios, join method will be very useful. IsAlive is a property that is available in the thread class. It returns a boolean that we have seen. It will return true if the thread is still running, otherwise it will return a false.